now the struggle was real because Rhea is going to be back home and dad's going to get her married. From 4 years old till 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, 11. I was exploited.
You are listening to Musings with Morales. Brought to you by Dialysis Education Services.
Welcome to Musings with Morales. I'm Morales. How's everybody doing tonight? It's a pleasure to be back on. I'm actually really excited about tonight. Had a hectic couple weeks. Took a few trips, met a lot of nice new people from everywhere, from the airport to restaurants, even professional care settings. So it was a really good time. And, you know, I actually got a chance to sit down for the first time in a while and catch a little bit of TV or Netflix. Has anybody seen this new Netflix film called Skywalkers or something along those lines? Skywalkers. It's on Netflix. It's a very interesting love story if you can get past the fear of watching these people who climb skyscrapers and tower cranes and different sort of towers and things like this and do crazy stuff up there that, you know, when you think about the fear, like just watching it, I was almost paralyzed. I had anxiety. And in this film, one of the stars of the film that actually does these crazy things, let me grab her name for you if I can. Angela Nicolau, if I'm saying it correctly. Angela Nicolau. Beautiful young Ukrainian woman, if I'm not mistaken, or part Ukrainian, that does these crazy feats with another passionate person that she actually fell in love with and created this art of walking these skies, of almost flying, doing things that, again, just watching paralyzed me and gave me an anxiety. But something in that film really stuck out to me, guys, and this is what it was. She said that her parents were circus acts. They were like trapeze artists, and there was a saying in the circus that true potential is on the other side of fear. That really struck me to the soul. If we can get past fear, if we can get past anxiety, true potential awaits us, right? Not to say that we would be free of fear, of anxiety, but that we could work through it, that we could climb it, that we could achieve the goal despite those paralyzing emotions, those paralyzing chemistries. So I don't know if any of you can relate to being scared out of your mind, whether it be something physical or whether it be, you know, a gamble you're taking in a new job or a business, or maybe leaving the country that you grew up in and that you love for a different dream. So like I said, this was kind of a hub to the many spokes of conversations that I've had over the last couple weeks. I visited Houston, Texas last week and ran across a young lady that just speaks to overcoming fear and anxieties. A young lady that has a story that, I mean, I stood there with my jaw open just going like, this is one of the craziest stories that I've ever heard. And here I am standing, talking to somebody that is really at the peak of success on many different levels. So I want to bring her in, but just a quick intro to Rhea Sharma Rachal, and I hope I said it correctly, the last name Rhea. But let me give a little bit of background here. Rhea's a research scientist, actually at a very high level, executive in that industry by education, and by DNA, a scientist. She also has been through some serious life challenges, from relationships to, I think maybe, and I'm not going to speak for you, Rhea, but sometimes people think about how we deal with anxieties and fears, and again, they can be paralyzing. So I heard that story from you, and I'm going to let you tell it yourself, Rhea. But as we got to chatting more, I felt almost as if, sometimes I get this feeling like I'm an alien, right? Like, hey, you do so many things, and I got a buddy online right now that's going to probably go, yep, that's you, Morales. You do so much stuff. It's hard to keep up, right? And then all of a sudden, there's like these moments where I go, aha, that's why I do so much stuff, is because they're all interrelated, right? So when I talked to Rhea, she introduced me to some of her entrepreneurial efforts, her purposes in life. Richard's saying, yep, that's Morales. Her purposes in life that have really come from the experiences and wanting to help others to overcome some of the things that she's overcome. So I don't want to speak the whole story because I would definitely not do it any good. Welcome to the podcast, Rhea. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me. It's truly, a great opportunity for me today that you have got me to share my voice with a lot of people, and my story can have, a platform where others can also resonate with me. Hopefully, with what I'm about to share today and we are about to talk, is going to hit home to a lot of people. And I can only say one thing, that nothing happens in this world without mistake. So get your questions going.
Yeah. So Rhea, let me ask this. I had this very connected feeling when we were there, as far as just kind of directions in life, and maybe they're a little bit different as far as entrepreneurial efforts, but sometimes you meet people and you're like, hey, this is somebody that I want to have in my circle of friends, of affiliates, of let's get each other's backs, right? I'm not sure if you felt the same way, and maybe for the audience, you're going like, what the hell are you talking about, Morales? Literally, we met less than a week ago. But I'm curious, what was your take on the first meeting? Like, what did you walk away with? Because I was excited to get you on the podcast, to tell you the truth.
So I had the same feeling. The feeling was mutual. I came home and I couldn't stop talking about this person I have met in front of my husband, in front of my parents, in front of my cats.
The cats too, huh?
Everyone. So on a serious note, you definitely made a very strong impact on me the last week. And when I said, I would love to take some kind of mentorship from you, and you said that, you are someone who already has so much education and you come with a plethora of things, I meant that I would love to have you in my life, as one of those people that I call my pillars, my backbones, someone I want to carry on with my life, when I move forward. These are the people I want to connect with, and I want to stick around with, and I want to take forward with. So I had this similar feeling when I met you. So definitely.
Well, that's great. So I'm not crazy, and to the audience, there was synergy there. Hopefully,
Yes.
soon to see how we help each other in life, on a short and long term, right? So looking forward to that. Rhea, I know you wear a lot of hats, so the audience hasn't met you. Would you mind, prior to giving us all those hats, kind of give us a little bit of a sneak peek at how you came to wear all those hats? The research scientist, the entrepreneur, the nonprofit founder, and I'm sure there are a few others. So if you could give us kind of like, how was this person built from, an early childhood on through school and et cetera?
I'm glad you asked this question, right? Because having said, so many hats, and it has to have a story, where it started. And
Yeah.
what happened, where. It's going to take a long time, but to make it short, um, as far as I remember, I was a child. I'm the only child of my parents, okay, and a daughter. So I was this very pampered, spoiled little girl, who got everything that she wanted, whenever she wanted, however she wanted, from her mom, her dad, and she carved her way through school, through dancing, singing, acting. She was everywhere. She was like full of energy, always full of energy. And but there was no like streamlined, guidance that was given to me when I was young. I was given everything, monetarily, but I was not given a good guidance. And that's where my path shifted, and I picked up things that I could relate to, or I could, think that, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is my survival, skill, and this is time to survive. So this is the best thing for me. This is the next thing for me. So I decided to be a biochemist and a microbiologist early when I was in school. I had always gone beyond my dreams of doing something big. So definitely not studying in India was not a choice for me. I always wanted to go abroad and be independent, because that's how I had seen, my family, my aunt, my grandfather travel, across the globe, be independent. And that's what I wanted for myself, because my mom is a homemaker, and I used to see her how she had made those sacrifices, bringing me up, and I kind of didn't want that, for myself.
Yeah.
So I chose to go abroad, and I literally had to fight with my dad. He was like, no, you're not going abroad. I will give you everything in India. I will give you money, car, you get a Mercedes, go to a best college, get your education, get a driver, whatever you want, but you are not going abroad. And I was like, no, if this is what I want to do for myself. I want to grow, and I know if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to be in a cocoon for the rest of my life. I'm never going to grow. So I had to fight. So I still remember my admission was supposed to be, the deadline was so close, and my dad was not signing the papers, and we had this huge fight. And eventually he ended up, giving up, because I had my mom supporting me really, really,
Yeah, forget about it. If two against one, especially if it's mom.
And that's how I started my journey of, being independent, going abroad. I was the president of Indian Society in college, and I was everywhere. From arts and culture to dancing and choreographing and winning competitions and everything. I was everywhere. Politics.
Oh, wow.
People knew who Rhea is in college, and that too, with in an international setting where we all come from different countries, from all over the world, right? I was able to make an impact. I was able to make my, name in my college. And having said that, a degree at that time for me was just per se, it was just like something that I was just doing.
Okay.
I was just doing, It was not something that I really
I can relate to
wanted
that, actually.
Yeah. I didn't want to do biochemistry and microbiology. I still remember not being in classes, 90% of the time, but rather doing all the other stuff that made me who I was in the university. And so I graduated and I came back to India. Now the struggle was real because Rhea is going to be back home and dad's going to get her married.
So that's first thing from studying abroad. First thing on everybody's mind is now time to make a family.
Exactly, exactly. Coming from where I come from, but I was very stubborn. And I decided, so every time I would come back to India, I would do an internship with one of these really big healthcare chains, hospitals. And I would intern and I would get certificates, I would get, so all academically, I was building up my resume, on the side. I was stacking up everything. I was making sure that even though I'm not like an A-star student, I'm still stacking up and being secure with my paperwork. I'm
Right.
good on paper,
Yeah.
right? And so that happened. And one of the days, my senior, in critical care, this doctor comes up to me and tells me that, Rhea, you don't look like a girl who wants to sit behind, in a lab with microscope and with a lab coat and be away from the world for like 7-8 hours in the laboratory for the rest of your life. You don't want to do that, right? And I said, thank God I can breathe now. I don't want to do this. No. I am a people's person. I like to talk. I like to interact with people. That's what I had always wanted to do. Do you see that I've never had the guidance, but I was just going along with the pieces that were, coming along with my path.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this person introduced me to clinical research, and I decided to pursue my master's in clinical research. And this time I decided to go to Australia
Okay.
because I was like, boom, I've done 5 years in England. Now I'm going to go and, take over another continent.
You said take over another
Explore that.
continent? I love it. I'm going to take over. Huh?
I'm going to explore that. And luckily, my father at that time, he was very supportive. He said, okay, fine, you've done your graduation, now you want to do your master's. Fair enough, complete your education. Because if you've come this far, you can do, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Because he didn't expect me to even do graduation in the first place, right? So I was going towards masters, which was like a win-win. And I was I think the highest educated person in my entire family at that point who had gone abroad, that to the first person who had ever gone abroad to study. So it was a lot. I was like that golden child by that time, growing up. And now life events started taking its turn. I completed my master's. I again had no clue. Like, people go abroad and they want to settle abroad, right? They want to do their visas and everything, find their path over there. But in my head somewhere, I was still my dad's little girl. I was still that princess mentality. So I wanted to come back home. I wanted to leave everything and come back home. And that's what I did. I left everything, I came back home, and now what? Now what am I supposed to do? Oh my God, my dad spent these millions of dollars on my education, on my, my upbringing, staying abroad, and now I have no future. I have no, where do I go?
Did you say millions of dollars, Rhea? Sorry, I got stuck there. Did you say millions of dollars?
Well, in when I say millions of dollars in our Indian currency, it kind of feels like millions of dollars.
Okay, all right. Because I was just like, oh, wow. I feel really inadequate right now.
Hundreds and thousands of dollars, were definitely invested in my education, for sure. Over the course of 8 years. Then life took a turn. I thought that, okay, fine, now I'm in India, I will work. And now my dad is like, why do you need to work? Right? I'm like, I've studied so much, so let me work. And now I pick up this job. I start in cardiology. I work for this German heart, in clinical research. I started 24 centers all across India. That was another experience. 1,000 patients enrollment
Wow.
over the course of 1 year. It was another great experience.
1 year?
With this company. 1 year.
Wow.
This company was booming, and this was the best decision that I had taken in my life. But you know what? The timing was not right for me. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. With great people, though. These people are still my mentors. These people are still in my life. They still, I still look up to them. And this company is doing absolutely amazing in their field of cardiology right now in India and abroad, of course. So, left that. That's where my downfall started. Clueless, don't know what to do, where I'm coming from, no, further guidance, nothing, no path, very bad relationships in the past, very bad traumas that resurface. And that's where something called my drinking hit the door. And I was always a party person in college, right? Like when I was doing all these extracurricular activities, I was always an outgoing person. I was always a drinking buddy for you, you know. I will scout for you. I will drink with you. I will drink till 4 in the morning with you. And I will, wake up, and when the bar closes, I'll be the last one who leaves with you. That is who I was back in those days.
So both
But
in the UK and in Australia?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But when I came to India, of course, my life changed a lot. I was living with parents. I had to live in a confined, system. Come back home by 9 p.m. Strict rules. Cannot drink. Cannot go out. Cannot be seen out. So I had rules and jurisdictions. However, that didn't stop me because I always had that rebel, um, personality in me, that I'm going to do everything against your will, and Rhea is going to do what Rhea wants to do when Rhea wants to do, right? And that is when I started sneaking, alcohol. I started drinking at night, not realizing that, how my next day is going to get affected. And slowly, my drinking became so big that my relationships with my family and my partners, at the time I was dating, became very bad.
I was going to ask, is it toxic?
Toxic.
That's kind of
Toxic.
that's the Latino word, right? It's like
Yeah, toxic.
me and Paco make some jokes
Toxic.
about that sometimes. Yeah, toxic relationships, right?
Yes, absolutely. They became absolutely toxic. And these toxic relationships, one after the other, because I was in such a codependent mind frame at that time, because I had nothing with me. I'm just, clueless, right? I want to jump from one place to another. So I'm out of this 10-year-old relationship. Now I'm in this 2-month relationship, 3-month relationship, 2-month relationship. So
Yeah.
all of that, bad decision after bad decision, and alcohol was the only thing that was keeping me going. Like, okay, I would wake up 5 in the morning, first thing, straight up vodka, and go to bed drunk. Bad decisions. And that bad decision led me to this 20-day marriage, this Indian grand wedding, for which all my friends from abroad came. And I wore a Sabyasachi lehenga, which is a 5 grand, bridal wear. My dad spent whatever money he had, he spent.
What was
For
the
my
number of
wedding.
guests you mentioned again? Number of guests at your wedding?
Oh, 1,000.
Can you imagine? And how many days?
1 week.
1 week. 1 week,
1 week.
1,000 people involved in all these activities. Is that right?
Yes.
That's
yes.
just awesome.
Yes. And people flying in from different places, right? America, England, Australia, all my friends at this point. So it was a big charade. It was a really big charade. And that bad decision led me to depression. Because by the time I realized that I have made this bad decision, I was married with my last name changed to the person's name. And I was living in an apartment with my ex-in-laws. And I was drinking all day long because that was keeping me, that was my surviving kit. That was my surviving tool.
Let
at
me
that
make sure
point.
I'm caught up here, Rhea. I want to make sure because again, when we met and we kind of talked through just kind of all the things that you've got going now, of course, there's got to be a lot of complexity on how you got here, right? There's a lot of complexity. So I hear about this, I think you used the words golden child, mama and papa's princess, like what do you need? When do you need it? How do you need it? Don't worry, I got you. Family, right?
Yeah.
Go to school abroad, although there was some resistance there. Hey, you proved yourself. Let's keep going. Go to Australia. Like you come out with all the pieces that are needed for success, like you said, on paper, right? Along the lines, and I want to ask, what's it like being a young person studying abroad from the culture that you came to going into like the UK and into Australia? And I mean, are there stark differences in what college would be like in India and what it's like in the UK and what it's like in Australia? It probably seems very attractive to a lot of people to say, "Oh, let me go to college and drink and party." Right? I watched some Karate Kid the other day, and the kids in the Karate Kid Netflix show, they went to college and they figured out that there's drinking there, and they kind of went crazy, like, "Oh my God, this is great!" Right? So I think it sounds very attractive for a lot of people, right? But what I'm hearing is, it became such a habit that it became that common denominator for you in those bad decisions, whether they, were the previous relationships or kind of listening to kind of let me go with my family now and go into this arranged marriage. Thinking about what I talked about when we started, that fear and that anxiety and getting through it, right? Like, was alcohol something that was meant to deal with fear and anxiety, or was it just the routine because that's what happens in those settings?
So, that's something I'm dying to answer, right? Because this is the whole goal of what we are going to be talking in the coming section. The whole purpose of alcohol in my life was to keep me going. To keep me going, as in, like, this is my anxiety, my depression, my mindset is all stuck with alcohol.
Yeah.
Because alcohol at that time was just giving me, just keep going, just keep living
Did it make you
without any
numb to
purpose.
those things, or?
Yeah, became numb, completely numb, became numb to all those decisions, to all those people around me, to myself, to what I was doing, everything. I had lost 20 pounds in that marriage, and I was drinking. I had lost weight, and there was a lot of other stuff that went around in that marriage, which was which is something that I want to bring up,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yep.
as a very, very vital part, because that's what happens in India a lot, which is dowry,
Yeah.
right? The girl's father does everything in the wedding and pays for the wedding, and money goes in, jewelry goes in, and at the end of the day, the demands don't stop. When is the furniture coming? When is the car coming? When is the, this coming? When is that coming?
When you say
And
when
that
is that coming, to who? To you and your at the time spouse, or to the
the
family?
spouse's family, to the spouse's family, right? And now, obviously, my father did whatever he did. He did the best he could at that time for his daughter, not knowing what I was going through internally, and I did not know what he was going through, with his, personal, monetary, whatever, life decisions.
Yeah.
So at the same time, life threw this challenge at us that at 3 a.m. in the morning, these in-laws tell my parents that we don't want this girl. Take her away. Even if she's a master's or a graduate, educated, we don't want her. We'll get someone else for our son. We don't want her. At that moment, I was so anxious. I had nothing on me. I picked up all my documents that I could, whatever little bit clothes that I could. Very next, the sun came up, one of my cousins came, picked me up, and I was out of that house. We never demanded anything back from them. We never expected anything back from them. We never asked anything back from them.
I mean,
Because in that moment for me, it was important to just get out of that place.
yeah. So I have two questions. We've got a few people with us, and I've never woke up at first thing in the morning and taken a drink, but I have been subject to, addiction. Some of us could have injuries and end up addicted to certain type of opiates or narcotics, right? I personally suffer from high level of anxiety, and there had been times in my life where the anxiety, kind of like you're saying, Rhea, I just need to keep going, right? Go to the doctor and get fixed up. Well, what's fixed up for anxiety? It's typically a pill, right? And some of the people on here would probably remember a time where, like, I was just not myself. I was totally dependent on that to get through the day. But then, of course, it also has its side effects, its impact on personality and relationships and things like that. So I'm just curious, do we have anybody in the audience that would be willing to, kind of raise their hand and say that, yeah, I've had something in my life like that. It might not even be a substance, right? It might be chasing something else. We have people out there who are addicted just to relationships. People who are addicted to sex, people that are addicted to gambling, and all of these things. When I think about people who had those different sort of addictions, which I've seen many who have had many of those, they tend to be the common denominator to their bad decisions. So, Rhea, let me ask a very direct question while anybody gets honest with us and shares that. Is there a place where, like, any of those things are not a problem? Do people who I'll just use one that probably everybody that watches this at some point has wanted this, but people who want to have sex, is sex a problem? People that want to go to the casino every now and then, is that a problem? Well, I don't know. I'm curious from your frame of mind with dealing with this, and we're going to get to overcoming. Is there ever a time where it's okay or not a problem?
You know, when something doesn't start being fun for you anymore, it becomes a problem.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah, you
know,
have
when
to do it.
It stops serving you the purpose of its being, then it becomes a problem. It's like any relationship. It's like any toxic relationship, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Any substance is just the same as a relationship.
Yeah.
If time it stops serving you, to your growth, to your being, it is a problem. And that's when you know that it is time to cut the cords and move on, or change your direction.
That is so broad, and that I think that's exactly what we need to hear right now. Is that it's not limited to one thing in your life, but if it's not serving you, if it's hurting you, if it's something that is a sacrifice in your life with no reason for that sacrifice, no purpose for that sacrifice, just to get through the day, those sort of things, they're a problem. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so we're in this relationship now, in this
Yes.
living with the family. Take us from there.
So we're in this toxic, state of mind, and I just pull everything I can, whatever I can. Within a month's time, you will not believe. I get this email on my laptop, right? That I've got my permanent residency for Australia, because my ex-spouse is an Australian citizen, and 5 seconds later, I get another email saying that it has been withdrawn due to grounds of a broken marriage.
Crazy. So you got it, and 5 seconds later, you lost it, and you found out that now your marriage is dissolved. Not only were you out of the house because the parents don't want you, but apparently he's going to follow his parents, and if that was the case,
Yes.
and he doesn't want you either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And oh my God, you just hit the chord, right? So no contact for another 1 year. We were not in touch at all. We tried contacting each other, like there were times that we would try to contact each other, but there was no substantial communication. They had already, given up on us, and they said they found certain grounds of, she did this, she's an alcoholic, she's this and that, she her father said he has this much money and all that stuff, but he didn't give us, they provided all those grounds to substantiate their respect in the community, whereas I and my family, we didn't care, we didn't bother, and we just wanted to, fold our hands, say namaste, and give our regards, and start our life fresh. But that's the beauty of the whole story now, Michael. Because if that wouldn't have had happened, I wouldn't have come to USA. And this is now 5 years ago when I landed USA, July 2019, with my mom, with one suitcase, few documents, short hair. That's it. No money, no job, no spouse, no friends, no family. I had nothing. Family, yes, mom and dad, yes, but otherwise, rest of the family, nothing. Nothing. everything. My aunt, my uncle here in Texas, they were our foundation. They gave us oxygen to breathe. They gave us home, they gave us shelter, they gave us love, they gave us support, they gave us care. They did not know that my addiction at that time had taken such a long course over me that it's going to be a really long battle for the next 2 years for everyone.
Yeah.
They didn't see it coming. So the next 2 years, from 2019 to 21, for my family here, my aunt, my uncle, my parents, it was like hell on earth for them, because they saw their only daughter, who they looked upon as that golden child, remember? Is on a couch, drunk, every day. She doesn't know where her life is going. Everything is clueless. She has lost her purpose, her soul, her confidence, everything. But there was one person who showed so much compassion in me, and that was my uncle. My uncle stood up, took me to, a meeting, and I was still not ready, right? I was not ready. I was not ready even then. But he still bowed that seed in my head that there is help, that there is something called help. Those 2 years of my life, I worked in a restaurant as a waitress. I cleaned bathrooms. I worked in a warehouse in California with my uncle. Packaging, shipping, labeling, you name it. Door knocking, marketing, sales, everything. I did whatever I could in those 2 years to just survive. I was surviving. I was drinking, but I was surviving. Nobody had no hope on me. Nobody had no hope with me, associated with me. I was already a failure. I was already a zero for my entire clan.
When you say clan, is that your blood family, or how do you define clan?
Everyone around me, friends, family, everyone. I lost a lot of my really good friends that I thought were my good friends, who I grew up with.
Rhea, I have to ask this. So you mentioned that you knew that they were living in a hell watching this go on, right? And I guess, I'm a dad. I have grandkids. I have a lot of family. And we've all got our fair share of bad decisions, right? And I was probably one of the worst of my clan, right? And making bad decisions. And, I can think back to certain times in my life and just I don't know how I'm alive, but I also don't know how people like my parents are alive, having to watch it. You know what I mean? And I can say they never gave up on me. They found points where they had to lean back a little bit and go I can't control what I can't control. Is there, I mean, kind of putting yourself in a different shoe of maybe if you were watching it, is there a time when you pull back? Is it healthy to pull back from individuals who are living destructively, that are making bad decisions, do you push or do you walk with? I don't know if you've seen that analogy, like when you have somebody and you two people, right, and you push against them, what do? They resist, right? But if you walk next to them and put your hand next to them, then they glide with you, right? So what's your lens on that as far as like the people that are peripheral to toxic?
Michael, that's a very beautiful question, because it talks in my 12-step program, the beauty of working with others, right? We alcoholics, can only understand another alcoholic, right? And even if our family at that time is trying to walk with us, or push us, stick with us, we are still not going to stick with you. We are still not going to be honest to you. We're still not going to be as giving to you that you're expecting. Because we are in our disease right now. We are in our disease. So at that time, it is a very hard choice that an alcoholic can only support another alcoholic, but the family member of that alcoholic has to step back.
This is really drawing me when you said we are in our disease, living in our disease. And, there's diseases that result out of fear, pain, anxiety, things like this, turn to addictions. Quite often, I'm not sure if you've watched through some of our podcast episodes, but we really talk a lot about folks that are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension and
Yes.
chronic kidney disease that then becomes like you require this thing called dialysis 3 times a week at least, sometimes more. It really kind of takes over a lot of your life. And I have seen a lot of struggle in people who suffer from that kidney disease to find voices that they'll listen to, similar to what we're saying here is like, who are you, Morales? You're a dialysis tech. You've never had kidney failure, right?
Yeah.
Show me somebody who has, because they've experienced the adversity, and I'll listen to them. So like today, there's a lot of people that are working as advocates, right? Education advocates, and they're like people who had or have kidney disease, talking to others who have kidney disease. So this makes a lot of sense what you're saying from an addiction perspective. And when I think about it, like you said, living in the disease, they're not gonna be, especially in this case, not gonna be connecting to the one who's not in that disease. They're gonna be connecting to somebody else who has either gotten through it or still in it.
Yes.
Great
Yes.
points.
Yes. So that's exactly, what this journey took me forward to. I was still in my disease, and whoa, I had some serious experiences, I would say, that I would not like to share just yet.
Yeah.
But some serious experiences that also did not stop me from drinking. It was serious. It did not stop me from drinking. But the good thing is that by that time, I had served my time in, whatever I was doing in LA. I came back to Texas, and I started this this tattoo business.
I have a lot.
Tattoo business. So this tattoo business was started in a 4x4 room, at the back of my dad's liquor store. Because at that time, my family was like, what is Rhea going to do? She doesn't have no visa. She doesn't have no, there is no career path that she's going towards, and she's clearly not taking care of herself. She's an alcoholic. So what do we do with her? Either she goes back to India and she goes in a psych ward or something, or we do something for her here to survive her, right? So one of my uncles found, a potential market of tattoo industry in Houston, and he decided to credit business us over here and start the business. And I got 4x4 racks from Costco. With my uncle set it up, with my dad and another guy, and we set this whole space up with the goods and the supplies. And I had one laptop, phone, Instagram page, Facebook, and I started my marketing. Boom, 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 boom. Within 6 months, that business was growing. And this was the time when COVID hit.
Yep.
So no businesses were working. The tattoo artists were only making money through underground, work. And we were the only people who were able to give the good supplies to them. So I suddenly became the plug in Houston for tattoo artists.
Yeah, so she told me this. She's like, "Hey, Morales, I'm the plug." I was like, "Wait, no, tattoos." Just kidding. But we have a lot of tattoo friends here, Rhea. We've had Marvin Rivera on before, and Mariposa Tattoo here in North San Jose, right?
No, in Portland.
Portland, Oregon, and then my nephew Jack Brizuela as well. So hopefully they're watching, and we'll make sure they're get connected with your business. What's your business called right now? Your tattoo distribution? Ink
Craft Tattoo Supply.
Ink Craft Tattoo Supply, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that we got your IGs and stuff like that. We'll make sure we plug into here. I gotta say that when I heard that, I was like, oh, what? Yeah. Tattoos, Rhea? Do you have tattoos?
I have one.
One. All right. Not anything that's like, yep. So something small, right? All right. But you would never. I mean, I would have never guessed that when I met you. Like when you told me that, I was like, oh wow, badass. Like tattoo supply. All right, very cool. So
Yeah.
you found some lemonade out of the lemons.
Exactly. I had to squeeze it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it was time. It was time to make some money. Like I was, I always knew that I had this business intent, and I wanted to do something, and I would not waste my time, right? But I'm drinking. I don't have a career path. I don't have anything, but I'm doing this,
Yeah.
and this is working for me, and this is working really well for me. And now my family is seeing that, oh my God, she's drinking, but she's still doing well, with
Functional.
tattoo supply. So that became a functional alcoholic situation for me. But it didn't last very long. It didn't last very long. As soon as I came back from LA, I had to get myself help.
So when you say it didn't last very long, just the functional part of it, like you were starting to find yourself in a place where you falling short of excellence as far as the business operation? Were you getting sick? What was going on that made you?
No. So I was failing with my relationships.
Okay.
I was failing with my relationships with people
Yeah. In general.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was very skilled. My skill set was still very up there. I don't know how, but I was losing all my relationships. And by this time, my soul was completely, it was empty. It was like a cup the cup was empty. You know, I had nothing left in me. I had nothing left in me. The deceive, the lies, the manipulation, the drinking, that I won't do it again, I won't do it again, I won't do it again. The cycle repetitively became so much, so much, so much that at one point I heard my family, and this is the turning point of my life. I heard my family talking, and I'm still drunk. They're talking in the background somewhere, and they're saying that either she goes back to India and she lives in a psych ward, or she dies. But she cannot stay here, and you guys cannot take her responsibility any further because she is a risk to you all. And I heard that, and I heard that, and something like a bright light came. You know, when they say the spiritual awakening, a bright light came in front of me, and I was like, I need to change my life right now. This is it. And that was the day I decided that I am not going to be on this couch ever again. I checked myself in to a rehab, which was a 12, it's a house, sober living house, with 12, 15 girls, 2 bedrooms, lots of loafers, 1 bathroom, a self-managed house. Insurance doesn't cover it. I didn't have no insurance, so I had to go somewhere which would take me free, you know. So this was definitely something not very lavish or very retreat, kind of rehab.
Wasn't the movie star rehabs, huh?
No.
Gourmet meals and
No.
jet baths and stuff like that. None of that.
No.
All right.
No, this was a very, very humble rehab. Very humble rehab. So, now next 7 days of my life over there, I am this girl with no soul, no life purpose, no family. Like, this is even worse than the time when, I was left off 3 a.m. that night. This
It was a
worse.
lower feeling for you.
This was worse. This was like, like someone just took the whole blanket off of me. And I have nothing. And I'm just looking at the sky, and I'm just like talking to this whatever is out there, and I'm like, whew, okay, my life is in your hands now. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what to do, but I surrender. I surrender from this point onwards. And the day I decided to do that, till today, the state of surrender has got me this far. I lived in that rehab for 3 months. It was a 7-day detox program, but I decided to live there because I didn't know where to go after that. My family didn't want me back. I decided that I'm going to stay there. I became the custodian. I was taking care of the house with another girl. I was running the house with the rules. I was working the program. I was attending meetings. I was meeting people who were in the program. I was learning, listening, constantly. I was literally reshaping myself, my brain, day in, day out, day in, day out. It was like, this is it. If either this is or it's nothing. Either from here on I can make something of myself or I'm completely done. I didn't have a choice. There was no gray area.
Is that the rock bottom that people talk about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was my rock bottom. That was my rock bottom.
I mean, so Rhea, in your experience, I mean, you up till now you've shared with us that you were there. You've continued to. You made the choice to stay there, to take on responsibilities within the household. With successful rehabilitation, transformation, sobering up, is that typically required, or is that like the common denominator to success? Is like you hit a certain point? Are there people who come in and they haven't hit that point, and does it tend to maybe show that like it's not that bad, so I'll go back to these things? Have you seen people that relapse, and what's kind of the factors to that?
So, Michael, this journey is not a simple. It's like you are telling a person to give up everything that they have ever thought of themselves, learned about themselves, learned from the environment that they grew up in, carried that baggage from the time they were a soul, to a being. You're trying to tell this person that take this all away, and now you're only supposed to live with these 12 steps. Your life is only these 12 steps. Spirituality. This is your life. I mean, anyone's gonna ask, like, are you kidding me? Like, why am I supposed to do this? Like, what's in it for me?
I can't even do a one-step diet, Rhea. Like,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time here, but
Like, why should I leave this, right? Like,
Yeah.
why should I leave my entire life, my entire being, my entire upbringing, the way I've lived, for you are telling me that this is going to make me a better person? Why do I believe you? But in that moment, it's either you want to be a winner or you want to be a loser.
I mean, that doesn't
And
sound like rehab. That sounds like rebuild.
Well, even rehab or rebuilding, it's kind of parallel to each other, because you learn the foundation first before you build yourself up, right? So in rehab, you build your foundation.
True.
In rehab, you're supposed to
True.
accept that this is your state of disease.
Yeah, baseline, right?
You are done.
Yeah.
This is your state of disease. You are powerless over something, and your life is becoming unmanageable. And from this point onwards, do you want to go further and make something of yourself, build yourself, or go back out? And going back out is very easy. Relapses is a part of recovery. Relapse is not a bad term. Relapse is a part of your journey. It doesn't have to be your journey, but it is sometimes a part of your journey.
Gotcha.
You do see relapses
Yeah.
because life will happen. Life is life. It's the way you want to come back again and again and again and live the same way to keep building your life back up before it crumbles, and makes you a loser again. So for me, that was a choice. I wanted to be a winner. I had the winner mentality. My mom had a stroke while I was in rehab.
Oh gosh.
And my father didn't tell me for 3 days. Nobody called me, nobody told me. When I finally got to know, I was so upset and angry with God, with my higher power, whatever. And I decided, I said, I still remember, I was like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay here in this house and I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna call an Uber and go rush to my mom right now, because if I go right now, I'm gonna be useless to her and my family. And if I come out after a certain point of time, I want my mother to be absolutely perfect, and I'm leaving my mom in your hands. That was my deal with God. That was my deal. And I stick to that, till date. I stood on that deal, and I came out 3 months later. I still didn't go back to home. I went to another sober living, far from my parents, so I can still be independent and start my life again, and start my journey again, and start working again, and be independent. And that's where my journey started, from $18 an hour as a coordinator to a director of clinical research in 2 years. It was a journey.
It's a beautiful journey, and we hear that the destination really is in the journey, right? I gotta say, I'm really proud of you. I mean, just met you, but really proud of you for sharing such a sensitive story. Everything from, I guess, the against the grain with some of the cultural norms through your life to, what some may feel very secretive about if they have, experience, whether they've got a current problem or whether they had it before. It's not common for people to be willing to share their weakest moments. So I gotta say, I'm really proud of you for that. And as I'm hearing you talk, I just wonder if you could give us some advice, because some of the things that you said, like maybe we're around people who are exhibiting things that we don't really understand. You talked about, like, I was losing everybody. And maybe some of us are also seeing that in our peripherals, right? Like people in our family who are just one by one cutting off ties in one way or another. And you mentioned the excuses, the lies, the manipulation, the I won't do it again type of things, right? I don't know how many of you people out there who are watching or going to watch this have people in your life that have those same statements on a regular basis. And I'm not calling them addicts at this point, but I definitely would kind of ask you, Rhea, is there need for concern when we see people that are changing like that? I mean, I've experienced patients in the professional world who used to comb like me, like I got this great hair, right? So I want to comb it and keep it. You're not like Paco's like, what are you talking about? All right, so they keep themselves groomed and shirts ironed, and they wear cologne or perfume, and then all of a sudden they're not combing their hair anymore, and they're not ironing their clothes, or they're not even washing them in some cases. And it's kind of like telltale for depression for us in healthcare, right? Or in some cases, maybe losses, right? Like they lost the person who has done things for them. So is it is there a need for concern when we see people around us that we love and, hey, what's the thing we said, Paco? You see something, say something? Like, what do we do? Like when we see people that are exhibiting those sort of things, lies, manipulation, I won't do it again, losing everybody around them that loves them.
So, Michael, we create a community, right? We come together because these are the same people who we have grown up with, who we love, who are in our surroundings, who are in our environment. But at the same time, if they're not serving you, spiritually, if they're not serving you mentally, if they're not serving you monetarily, physically, anywhere, you don't cut ties with them, but you create a boundary. You create a healthy boundary with them. And that's what we do in community.
Mm-hmm.
When we raise voice to help one another, we don't necessarily go and start building their houses or start building their bank balances.
Mm-hmm.
We start giving them moral support, we start giving them resources, we start giving them experience, strength and hope to build their character.
That's huge.
But
So you can't pay for that building of character, is what you're saying. You can't put a fancy necklace or a nice car or an apartment payment to build that character, is what you're saying. That's not taking care of people.
No, you can't. Sometimes you have to build a boundary. You have to maintain a boundary with those people, and I had to do the same thing with my own parents. Because my parents had served me in my entire life as this princess mentality that they gave me everything that I wanted, whenever I wanted, however I wanted. When things hit hard with my family, I had to build a boundary with them for a very long time. I told them that I am not going to be the same daughter anymore because right now I am trying to learn myself. I'm trying to see who I really am. And that's when, Michael, my entire subconsciousness, we talk about neuroscience, right? We talk about the brain. We talk about training our brain, right? That's when in my prayer and my meditations, I came across my entire childhood, like what happened with me in my childhood that made me this person who I was in college, who I was growing up, why I was drinking, why I made those decisions, bad decisions, one after the other. My subconscious mind slowly and slowly started unrevealing like an onion, a layer of onion. And I started seeing everything that happened with me when I was a child. From 4 years old till 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, yes, 11. I was exploited. I was exploited with someone within my realms. So all those things, they came out, and I got help. I got counseling. I went for mental health counseling.
Root cause.
Yeah, to find the root cause. And when I found the root cause, man, I found my self-worth. And today, I can proudly say that whatever decisions I made in my past that made me who, I was, it was for a purpose. It was for a reason. Because today, if I'm sitting here and I'm giving, my story a voice, a platform, is because a lot of women out there need to hear this. A lot of women out there need to know that your life does not end with divorces. Your life does not end with rape. Your life does not end with toxic relationships or domestic violence. Your life does not end at any of these realms. You build yourself through your brain by training your brain, because your subconscious mind is what tells you is 90% of what makes you and your decisions.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. That frontal lobe, right? Conscious, we don't really do too much for our. We think we're like in full knowledge of doing, like in control of our actions, but really it's stuff that's kind of laid in there, and we may not even know why until we really dive in, right? And maybe we need
Right.
assistance to find that. So Rhea,
So-
how are you sharing your story today? I mean, I was again super excited to get you on here because I got some sneak peek at some of this story, and it was like just again I don't know if my jaw was just like what. There were a couple of us hanging out, and it was, I think everybody was just really like, wow, this is one of the most incredible stories, almost like it's a movie, and it couldn't that couldn't be true, right? But today I know you're doing a lot of good in the community, and I'm excited to help you share the things that you're working on. So if you could give us an idea of what you've turned these experience into, like you said, a platform to be able to share, help. You mentioned specifically women, and you mentioned some really just the circumstances that I think for anybody even thinking about can feel like it can feel that way, like life is over, right? But clearly it is not. And I know you've got some, besides your story, you've seen other stories. So where's the platform today? How do we support? How do we become a part of what you're doing?
So, Michael, in my prayer and meditation, I believe that, God really put me in a path today that showed me my own purpose of my being. And I started my own non-profit organization 7 months ago. It's by the name of GPSF Global.
What does the GPFS stand for?
So GPSF stands for Guruji Pushpa Sai Foundation. Now, Guruji is something that I wear. It's my Guruji. It's my God. Okay. Pushpa is my both maternal and paternal grandmother's name. Sai is again my God. And foundation is, foundation and global. So GPSF Global, and our tagline is Navigate Life. So GPS,
Yeah.
like a
There you go.
GPS.
Yeah.
Navigate Life.
Yep.
So we fund a woman and we help a woman navigate their life. So this foundation has a strong intent to bring the education, the resources to not only the woman in America, but in India, South, all these South Asian countries, all the countries where women are not given the voice, where they are in their closets,
Yeah.
where they are drinking in their closets as mothers, as wives, as sisters, and they're struggling, they're not coming out, they're struggling with what happened with them in their childhood, but they can't speak about it because of the stigma in the society. What will the family say? What will the family react? Um, this is what GPSF stands for, the education to bring out all the defiances to the community of women and children, and give them the knowledge that there is help. There is help beyond the suffering, and life does not stop here. I have taken a soul challenge on myself that regardless of whatever I'm doing in my career, GPSF for me holds at a higher pedestal because I want to take this globally, to the point where it can be supported. It can support the UN woman, United Nations
Yes.
woman. Because this is how, small NGOs come together and we all work together. It's a domino effect. So I want to create that synergy. I want to create that impact in all the communities. Let the woman know that there is life, there is hope, there is strength, there is so much beyond stigma. There is so much beyond, what people are going to think about me, what people are going to talk about me. There is so much more to it.
Yeah.
Stand up, raise your voice. This is the time, because if you don't teach yourself, you will not teach the next generation that is coming. You will not be able to teach your own children the good touch, bad touch.
That's a tough one, and I mean, your organization is got the focus on the UN woman. I can just say that those who are with us today, that this is not isolated, of course, to women, right? I think it may be, like you said, maybe more in the closet and not talked about in women, because I can think about, especially in my culture, like it's kind of a normal thing that a Latino man is gonna, kind of be tilting a bottle a lot of times, right? And with that, there's a lot of normalcy in things like verbal and physical and mental abuse in those type of families that have, severe alcoholism in them. So you're preaching to all of us right now. Do you have a website? I got your socials earlier, so we'll tack everything in here. Do you have a website up and running? And is there a way that people can get in touch with you if they're experiencing this, or if they have somebody in need of?
Absolutely. Our website is up and running. It's gpsf.us. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram with the same handle, GPSF Global. You can get in touch with us with a contact form. My phone number is there, my email address is there. I'm very much available. And I have a lot of resources that I want to bring out. And I have a lot of communities that want to, build this project, further. And we are looking at our first fundraiser in February next year, 2025, where I'm expecting about 1,000 people this time. Not a wedding.
Me and Paco too, right? We're invited, right?
Not a wedding.
And we have to do our plus ones for sure.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be on like.
This is going to be.
I got to share the joke I told you, Rhea. and I guess it's the moment where I give my wife a shout out, right? It's like, so I was talking with a buddy one time, and he's like,
Forever wife.
yeah, she got it for my forever wife. I was talking with a younger buddy of mine, and he's on second marriage, and he was like, well, which? I was like, my forever wife. He's like, oh, I'm gonna use that one, right? Like, I'm gonna use that one with my fiance. Yeah. Sorry, Rhea. So we definitely would love to support Rhea. We definitely love to be there, and I think I mentioned that the tuxedo looks good on me, but I don't look good on the tuxedo. So, we'll do a trade off there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are looking forward to this gala, which is going to be a night of everyone's life. It's going to be fun, filled with entertainment, culture, education, and lots of reality, real talk, in front of the real people, within the community, to bring out as much as we can to support, the charities that we are working with across the nation and within the nation. So I'm really looking forward to next year and a lot of support coming in.
We are as well. So we've missed one piece. I cannot let you go without this, okay? And I'm gonna just go back to my starting of tonight's episode. I watched this movie. You have to watch it, by the way. And this will open up to sharing this part of it for you. But there's these two people, right? These two individuals that are living with fear. Whatever. Anxiety, pain, trauma. In this case, it was fear that was highlighted in this movie called Skywalkers. They're scared shitless to climb these things, but they do it anyways. And when you look this up on Netflix, they're climbing crazy things, right? Like stuff that it's illegal to climb these things, right? But they're two individuals, and they're doing the same thing, and they're overcoming fear, and eventually they end up working together, and they fall in love, right? But again, one of the things that the young lady said was that, I thought I needed to do this skywalking to find myself, but really I needed to do this skywalking to find this person who I was able to finally put trust in. And I'm just curious, after all of this pain and all of this fear and all of these anxieties and depression and really finding a way to get through it, like, I want to hear that your love story was a success and that we stopped making bad decisions on relationships. Where are we at today? Please give me good news.
So I met my husband in recovery, which is a beautiful thing.
Where's the hand claps? Yeah.
We were in service. I was a Houston representative of one of the sober living houses in Houston. And I was taking care of some 7-8 houses for women. And he was the vice chair of that same chapter. Mm-hmm. And we are outside and we're just talking, and he looks at me and I look at him, and we just exchange, what do you do? I work in operations. He's like, I work in operations too. Mm-hmm. So completely different operations.
Yeah.
He works in warehousing operations and I work in healthcare operations. But both of us clicked over there, and we went to a meeting after that. We went for to clean a house after that, where everyone relapsed.
Oh, wow.
Everyone relapsed. And so we connected that night over cleaning the mess. And the next day we went for a meeting, and I was sitting in the meeting, he was chairing the meeting, and I said something like, I am this hot chicken nugget chicken wing nugget.
That's awesome.
And in the middle of 60, 65 people, and he looks at me and he's like, this is the one I'm gonna marry. And within 11 months, we just knew. We knew that we want to get married.
He won you over.
He won me over. He was a beacon of everything that I had ever imagined. He is one of the most supporting husbands, a man full of integrity, honor, and honesty. He is not only my husband, but he's a son to my parents that I always wanted, I always had envisioned and prayed for. And I'm truly, truly grateful today that, I had manifested him long back when I was a child, and it came true.
So, last question, and I know the answer. How much was the dowry?
Yes.
Just joking. Tell us a little bit more so we understand kind of how you made your own choice here.
I can just tell you there was a lot of gold.
I mean,
There was a lot of gold.
I mean, with your forever husband. So we have to term that, right? Oh,
With the forever husband, it was nothing.
there you go.
Nothing.
So you get the sometimes free is the best.
Forever husband actually came with a lot of dowry.
All right, there we go. So it was the right transaction mode, right? It's like, let me win you over, not you win me. That was great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rhea, this has been such a pleasure. I got to ask, are there any, words of wisdom, last sign off type of tagline or quote or something that you can leave us with that would resonate with the rest of your story here and leave us with the biggest take, something we cannot forget?
I'm just going to share this one thing that this one man told me, and it stuck with me and still stays with me, every day when I wake up. That, who are you? If you wake up in the morning, who are you when you look at yourself first thing in the mirror? If you take away your education, you take away your career, you take away your last name, you take away your funds, your money, your family, your friends, everything, what is left at the end of it is your soul. And
Wow.
to me, today, to be in the right, streamlined with my higher power or whatever is out there, with my soul, is important. And nothing else beyond that matters. You take away anything from me today, I am still going to be A-okay.
That's really deep. I think that's a great sign off. Strip it all away. Who are you? And I gotta say, maybe I'll save it. But I feel like as you walked me through that stripping down of everything, I knew exactly who it was. I feel like I know exactly who it was. I'm gonna think about that, and I'm gonna see if my initial thought of that. Maybe I need to go through the exercise, right, and just kind of slow it down outside of a conversation. But I felt like I stripped it all down, and I knew exactly who I was, without everything. I think I said it last week. Matter of fact, that I have this, beat yourself mentality, right? Meaning, like I'm the one I'm competing against, and I feel like I have a lot to make up for in my life. So like you said, some of the upbringing, some of the experiences, like when you strip it all down, like I feel like I have to be helping people. And I don't know that any of the things that you mentioned, my job, my education, my money, my car, these sort of things that I don't know if they have anything to do with that as far as a primary purpose in my life to help people. I love healthcare. I think this is a healthcare issue that we talked about today. And when we think about chronic illness, a lot of it comes from choice, right? And habit and lifestyle. So I think this meshed in perfectly with our normal kind of focus of bringing awareness to what can be prevented, what can be treated, what can be cured, and how we stay clear of things like diabetes, hypertension, alcoholism, drug addiction, relationship addiction, gambling addictions, or anything that you said that wouldn't serve or would harm or just becomes a habit because I got to get through the day. So my sign off for you guys today is I got to tell you, you probably saw me drinking a cup of coffee when we came in here. And I have become super dependent on that, Rhea, to the point where I've been experiencing anxiety lately, which I have had history with. So I switched to decaf because I feel like I'm addicted to caffeine. Yeah, no nicotine for me, but the caffeine. So I'm thinking about those sort of things as like, yeah, it's becoming habit. It's not helping me. It's making me anxious, making me jittery all day. I'm trying to cut that out. One last experience for you. Since I met you and we had this conversation just about what your experience has been, I talked to a good friend and I said, hey, I'd like to get you on the podcast real soon here. And guys, this is a real conviction for me. One of my friends is going to be like, finally use that word, right? There's a real conviction for me. He said, what do I need to do to get ready? I said, have a drink before we start. And as innocent as that sounded to me, I've known the guy for years. We've had drinks together. We never got drunk or anything, but we've had drinks together. As innocent as that sounded to me, he said to me, Morales, it's been 60 days since I had a drink. And I said, holy shit, I'm sorry. I got to tell you, like, it hurts me inside to think that he actually said, don't tempt me. And I said, nope, don't do that. I'm sorry. But it's really put a lot in my head. We don't understand how our presentation, our words, our invitations affect others. And then I hear something else this week is like, no, I didn't hear it. I saw it on your LinkedIn. Why do you not drink? And then the person said, why do you? That like smacked me in the face. So I really appreciate everything you're doing for the community as a whole, telling your story, Rhea. Thank you for coming on with us. And for everybody who joined us tonight, I hope this hit home. I hope that you are able to help yourself and help the people around you, and then understand that sometimes things are not in your control and that you may not be the person that they need, but maybe you can help them to find the person that they need. Point them in the right direction to somebody who's experienced the adversity, the struggles that they have, because that's who people want to hear from, right? Healthcare professionals, squawking box, patients who have experienced, or people who have experienced, this is a voice that I'll listen to. Rhea, any last words before we sign off?
Well, stay in full state of surrender and be honest, because without honesty, there is no foundation.
Thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great week, and we'll actually be on tomorrow. So look forward to seeing you in another live podcast. We'll probably be starting around 6 p.m. PST, and we'll be running for most of the night. So thanks again, Rhea, and thank you to your husband for giving us the almost 2 hours of your time, which I know you're on Central Time. Thanks again.
Thank you. Namaste.
Have a good night.
This episode has been brought to you by Dialysis Education Services.